before Loki, before Thor, before Odin, before all the Norse gods, there was only ice and fire.
A song of ice and fire.
Best season ever!
And because even ice and fire need some loving from time to time, fire eventually melted ice's icy heart, because fire was smooth with it. And from the melted ice droplets, the first being was born, a giant bigger than anything you could imagine, so big that it was simply huge.
It's bigger than that, Chris. It's large.
That giant was Ymir, and Ymir was all alone, living in the nothingness that existed between ice and fire, until a giant cow was born. What, you didn't expect a giant cow out of nowhere? This cow was Audumla, and this cow equaled Ymir in size, and its milk provided food and drink for Ymir, while the cow itself licked the ice and liquid from frozen rocks, and from those licks it created the first god, Buri. Even the cow knew that everything starts with a good licking. So the first three beings were born, and above the heat of the eternal fire, Ymir was sweating, and his sweat created another three beings, the Jötnar. And yes, the mythological texts say sweat the beings were born out of, but we all know it wasn't really sweat. It was a bee and a flower, who, since they came from a giant, we still call giants to this day. Although they're not more or less giant than Buri, the first god, but we had Ymir, a cow, a god, and three giants. Sounds like the beginning of a walked into a bar joke, but it was actually the beginning of Norse mythology. And if you've been waiting for Odin to make an appearance, he enters the story right now. Buri, the first god, had a son with one of Ymir's daughters called Bor, and Bor in turn got freaky with another giantess and had three sons of his own. Those sons were Odin and his brothers Vili and Ve. But think of Vili and Ve as like the other members of Destiny's Child. Background noise. Irrelevant. Replaceable. Forgettable. Despite the fact that the three brothers were half god, half giant, they decided that they were gods. And because identity was already something to get fanatical about back then, Odin and his bros decided to commit the cosmos' first genocide. To be fair, it was only like a handful of beings at the time. They started with Ymir and literally gutted my man. And my man was so giant that his blood created the first oceans and drowned every other being, including Odin's parents, granddad, everyone. And so the three brothers did not just commit the world's first genocide, they also committed the world's first patricide and matricide and grandfather's side. Then Odin and his brothers decided that it was time to start a new class, because right after committing the first genocide seems like the best time to invent classism. So they made one of the realms their home, called it Asgard, and called themselves the Aesir gods. The Aesir distinction was important because the Aesir gods believed themselves superior to all other beings that follow, including the Vanir gods, which I'll do a video of another time. But at the time, there was only the Aesir and Asgards and the evil they created. Because two grandsons of Ymir survived, two giants survived the genocide, and they fled to Jotunheim and made it their home, where they became better known as the Jötnar, the enemies of the gods. Odin, the supreme god, created our world and all the other realms after killing his parents and grandfather, and by tearing up the body of his great-grandfather to literally create planet Earth out of his flesh, brains, blood, and bones. Very rough. And I'm talking, he tore out the flesh and the brains, the teeth and the bones to create our world, Midgard, aka Earth. I guess, thank you, Odin. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. See, before Odin and the gods, there was only the first being, Ymir, living amongst eternal ice and fire and nothingness. And when Odin was born, he and his brothers decided that they needed more than nothing. So they called themselves the Butcher Bros and did like butchers do. Murdered Ymir and created the realms from his body, the oceans from his blood. They used his skull as the sky and his brains as the clouds. His teeth were torn out to be used as rocks and his bones as mountains. His hair became the forest and his flesh is the land we are now on and which we call Earth, known as Midgard in Norse mythology. Just one of 9 realms, 7 of which were created by the Butcher Bros, while the first were the ice and fire that existed before all, also known as the realms Niflheim and Muspelheim. Niflheim is a place of eternal ice, and Muspelheim a place of eternal fire. The ice in Niflheim gave birth to Ymir, while on Muspelheim there was no life. Just fire that burns all except for Surtur, who might as well be death itself, a fire giant born out of the eternal flames of Muspelheim, only existing to forever wait until the day he will burn the entire cosmos at the end of Ragnarok. That is some fate. Until the Butcher Bros started their business. This was all there was. The first realm the Butcher Bros created out of Ymir's dead body was Asgard, the home of the gods, specifically the Aesir gods. Asgard was pompous as hell, all gold sitting on top of all realms by literally sitting on top of the tree Yggdrasil, aka Iggy, the equivalent of the cosmos in Norse mythology, a tree which connects all realms. Within Asgard, Odin had his own domain, Valhalla, which is the closest thing Norse mythology has to a paradise, except it's only reserved for warriors that die bravely in battle. Below Asgard and Iggy's branches are all the other realms the Aesir rule over. There is Alfheim, which the Light Elves made their home after they emerged out of the remaining rotten flesh of Ymir's body. Yeah, Ymir did not rest in peace. Opposite of Alfheim, there is Svartalfheim, the home of the Dark Elves, who also emerged out of Ymir's rotten flesh and eventually became better known as the Dwarves. Below those realms, right in the middle of Iggy, is Midgard, aka Middle-earth. Lord of the Rings fans are like, aww. This is where we are, the humans. Below Midgard is Jotunheim, the home of the giants, also called the Jötnar. They are the very first descendants of the actual giant Ymir, born while Ymir was alive, and the Jötnar worship Ymir, and thus naturally oppose Odin, because he kind of slaughtered the guy, tore up his body to literally build himself a home and 7 other realms to rule over. It's like, why you're at it, bro? Why don't you just wear Ymir's balls as a necklace? That's a pretty good reason to swear eternal hatred on the guy. So in Ymir's memory, the Jötnar call themselves giant and live to end the gods, which they are destined to do during Ragnarok. Then there is Vanaheim, the home of the other gods, the lesser gods, the Vanir. While the Aesir and Asgard are all gold, all luxurious paradise, Vanaheim is a natural paradise, and the Vanir are nature gods rather than opulent ones, worshipped for harvest, weather, fertility. Want to get freaky, get you pregnant on? You pray to a Vanir god. Below all these realms, in Iggy's roots, is Hell, aka Helheim. Now here it is important to note that Helheim is simply the underworld, the afterlife, not an evil place of torture. It's a place where all dead go who don't die bravely in battle. Sickness, old age, accident, TikTok trends gone wrong, you end up here, and your actions in life decide whether you suffer for all eternity or rest in peace. Who created humans in Norse mythology? The answer for that lies in the creation of our Earth, which all started with a brother and sister doing a whole bunch of fun stuff. Chill, I wasn't gonna cuss. People of Christos, I'm not talking about Adam and Eve. I'm talking about Ask and Embla. Absolutely no similarity or connection whatsoever. In Norse mythology, Ask and Embla were the first humans, and they were created from wood. That's not a clever innuendo. They were actually created from wood, from Odin's wood. I'm serious. Odin carved them out of wood after he built Earth, aka Midgard, and thought it was too empty. The first man was carved out of an ash tree, commonly used for spears due to its resilience. The first woman was carved out of an elm tree, commonly used for building homes due to its grace. Ask and Embla then decided to inbreed life onto our planet, and Midgard became the home to humans situated under Asgard, the realm of the gods who watch over and protect us. All around Midgard are the other 8 realms, and due to its placement, Midgard literally translates to Middle Earth. Lord of the Rings fans are like, aww. Norse mythology's Middle Earth is surrounded by a massive ocean, which is enclosed by a great wall made out of the eyelashes of a giant. It's like, what? You say, what? Yeah, it's not that weird when you know why. Odin killed his granddad and then used his body parts to create the world and stuff. Eyelashes for walls. The wall surrounding the ends of the oceans was built to protect us humans and Midgard from the giants of Jotunheim. And yes, that means that Earth in Norse mythology is flat. God, flat earthers are going to use Norse mythology as proof now. That ocean encircling our world is entirely occupied by one giant serpent, Jormungandr, literally so big that it can circle the world and bite its own tail. I know, brothers, we've all tried, but only Jormungandr succeeded. I'm doing way too much in this video. That giant snake, Jormungandr, was actually created by Loki, it's his son, and then it was banished and cast out into the ocean by Odin. But everything else on Earth was created by Odin himself. His 2 brothers helped. His 2 brothers, Vili and Ve, also helped create humanity, but it's like in sync. It's cool that they were there, but nobody cares. Midgard is now entirely considered Odin's baby, from humanity to the world itself, which is why Odin, the creator, is referred to as the All-Father. The All-Father that dumped the giant man-eating snake into our oceans. Thanks, Dad.